Is romantic love essential? Is it important?
So I think that those are two different questions. Is it important and versus is it essential? I think our culture would say that it's essential that people have romantic love to be fulfilled. And I think from a faith perspective, that's not true. It is essential that we do have close relationships, that we experience intimacy, but that is not always in the case of a romantic relationship. And it is essential that we know and love God. That would be what our faith would say. Now, is it important? Is it something to celebrate? Absolutely. But it's not critical to having a fulfilled, beautiful life.
So that's a bit of a countercultural message and a countercultural approach. And it's difficult for the church always to resist the voice of culture. Comes to the door, and so we adopt this thing. We have to have epic relationships. Best movies out there, the highest selling ones, I'm sure, have a strong romantic piece to it. Highly, I would say, sexualized. This is the way to go. And so you're saying, that's actually not as important as the culture would make it to be.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the church has sort of communicated this as well, and we've missed the idea that Jesus was single and Paul was single. So these are Jesus is critical, and Paul was so important in our faith, and they lived rich lives as single people. And so I think we need to balance our approach to romantic relationships with that. But what would you say about its importance? Does it seem important at all within our faith?
I think we've lost our way a little bit. I think we've made it more important than we should have. I think we've done so a bit to the detriment of single believers and sort of made them feel like they don't have all the game that they maybe should or could have. So that's a problem. We want to be careful around that. I'm amazed when I read Paul, I think right now of 1 Corinthians 7, where he seems kind of ambivalent about, well, if you're single, stay single. If you're married, stay married. If your spouse, your unbelieving spouse, will stay with you, then stay with them. If they won't stay with you, then let them go. Like there's an ambivalence about it. Not because the Bible doesn't highly prize marriage and really caution us around who we would marry and give us real direction around that. Though the Bible does say those things, but I think from the time of Jesus on, like you mentioned, the great intimacy, the great nearness is with Jesus, and then it was kind of like, and the community, this unlikely community that was forming around belief in Jesus, which included Jews and Greeks eating at the same table, slaves and their masters, sitting side by side in church, men and women leading alongside each other. There was this new community. And then I think had to make sense whether marriage made sense in that context. Yeah.
I like that.
Well, it's in the Bible.